All right, so in this video, we're going to be speaking about attracting your ideal partner. Of course, everyone dreams of, being in this perfect union with the perfect partner, the person, the man, woman of their dreams from a young age all the way up until, whenever, right? Whenever they actually get it. And even if they don't get it, they're really miserable because deep down they still want it, right? So, of course, this is a very important topic. This is a very important issue. Now, one of the problems is that people just grow up thinking, oh, of course it's going to happen. One day, but they never think about what they're doing today. And what I mean by that is it requires work. It requires some strategy, you could say. It requires some game. It requires you building yourself as someone who is a valuable commodity, and then you exchange that value with someone else. Because if you want someone who is valuable, that person naturally would have standards and would want someone valuable too, right? So we're going to start by doing this. When we think about your ideal partner, we need to be very specific in terms of what we're looking for, because when it comes to manifesting and attracting what you want, you always have to be aware of what it is that you want. So what you should do is take some time out to sit down and write. You could write it down, put it in notes, you can talk about it, however it works for you. But you're going to think about what is actually your ideal partner and who would satisfy your romantic and sexual needs. And you're not just going to be thinking about, well, society says I'm supposed to be with this type of person. No, you're going to personalize it and think to yourself, who would actually please me? Who would actually fulfill me in a relationship? Not my friend or, my mother or father or my sister and what they have, not me looking at social media going, I want what they have because I like them smiling and they look very happy. So I want what they want just because I'm seeing them happy. No, what would actually make me happy? Now, in order to do this, it actually requires a level of self-awareness that most people don't operate with because they never sit down and do the introspective work to even be, self-aware. Now, after you think about the type of person that you would want, you're now going to think about what would it look like when you're relating to that person. So what is your ideal relationship? When you think about the principles, the culture of the relationship that you're engaging in, what would that actually look like? Rather than just saying to yourself, hey, I like that person, they like me, we go out on dates, we have intimacy, we care about each other. No, what does the ideal situation look like? And be as specific as you possibly can. But to be fair, you do not have to be so specific, but you have to go into depth in terms of the foundation of what you're trying to create. That's why I spoke about the philosophy and culture of the relationship. That is very important, And then this is where I feel like a lot of people will trip up. You now have to check your idealistic desires, and you have to say, how realistic is it? Because people go too much on the idealistic side and not so much on the realistic side, which is one of the reasons why someone like Kevin Samuels would have blown up. Because, people would just think about what they want and they will create a fantasy in their head. So when I say to you, hey, what's your ideal partner and what's your ideal relationship? You will now just come up with fantasy as if you're writing the script to a movie, when actually that's not going to work out. So many people they're literally dreaming and waiting on a fantasy to come. So we also have to, do the harsh part, I guess, for some people and say, how realistic is that? How realistic is it for you to attract that? So, for example, if you might say to yourself, idealistically, I want the type of guy who's extremely wealthy. Well, actually, have you been with any guy in your past that was wealthy, right? I see videos on social media of girls saying, I expect to be with like one girl said she expects to be with a guy making, I think it was $1 million a month. And I'm like, we first have to sit down and say, have you even been with a guy who's making, $1 million a month? And then how many people in the population are even making money like that. So just mathematically, that's not gonna work out. That doesn't actually make sense. But then once you figure out your idealistic partner, and then you do the realistic, fixing of it and adjusting that list, you now have to say, are you worthy of that type of person? The type of person that you want. Are you what that person would be looking for? This is where it truly becomes empowering, because now you're going to set yourself on a path of self-development and work. And I personally don't think there's any wrong with saying, look, I am doing this work because I want to be the type of person who would attract the type of person that I want, right? I think a lot of people get caught up in saying, I'm not doing this for a man. I'm not working on myself for a woman. Why not? You want company at the end of the day. And all I see that's happening is a culture and a community of people who are ending up single and alone and miserable because of it, all because they're too egotistic and they don't want to do the work to get what they want. That doesn't make any sense, because one of the universal principles of this reality is that, look, the work you're putting in for something will literally define what you're getting back. So of course this has to be applied to relationships and dating, right? So again, you have to be intentional with it. You have to understand what your idealistic expectations are, but also what the realistic expectations are too. We can't just be too much on one side and then too harsh on the other side. No, we just gotta, find balance between the two. So those are some, I guess you could say, strategy that helps you understand how am I actually going to get the type of relationship that I want, because you don't want to be one of these people acting like you really want to be independent and alone, but really men and women too, you don't want to be alone. You want to unite, you want to engage in teamwork, you want to build a family with someone, and so on. We just have to be strategic with how we go about it, rather than just sitting at home complaining that we don't have what we want. Now, anyway, I want to know what you think, so comment down below, let Reemus know, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.